Nobody's really saying this right now, so I'm going to. Aljamain Sterling, as unlikable as he may be, and as undeserving as he may be of a UFC World Championship, is still a massive threat to Petr Yan. And that needs to be mentioned because I feel like every single time I see anything about Aljamain Sterling recently, people are saying the same thing over and over again. Can't wait until Petr Yan destroys this guy in a rematch. Can't wait until this guy is no longer a champion and is completely gone from the sport of MMA. Can't wait to see this absolute coward lose his next fight brutally. Can't wait to see this guy get KO'd. Aljamain Sterling is really, really amazing at fighting. And he's proven that time and time again. And the only person he's had a bad performance to in recent history, in his recent form of his career, is Petr Yan. And even then, he won the first 2 rounds. Now, I'm not denying that Petr Yan should be seen as a favourite going into their rematch. But I feel like a lot of people right now, I feel like I'm witnessing the beginning of a curse. Okay, I think everyone is completely disregarding Aljamain Sterling, and maybe, via osmosis, some of that will infect Petr Yan with the same mindset of completely overlooking Aljamain Sterling, and that might be a problem because when you go into fights overconfident, all of a sudden Aljamain Sterling's got your back because you don't really care as much about his grappling because you out-grappled him the first time and you don't see his grappling as much of a threat as you did the first time when you took each other on because you've disregarded it because I out-grappled him the first time. I don't have to worry about that as much anymore, and all of a sudden Aljamain Sterling's climbing up the cage, getting on your back like he did against Corey Sandhagen, and he's looking to choke you out, and there's a big problem. I'm worried about that because in all honesty, I do want to see Petr Yan completely fucking obliterate Aljamain Sterling out of existence and destroy him in that cage for all of us to see. That would be amazing. That would be a great storyline. He would destroy Aljamain Sterling in a rematch, and honestly, he's already 1-0 up, but technically it's 1-0 Aljo, and if Aljamain Sterling wins, not only would you have a guy now as a legitimate champion of your UFC bantamweight division, who is known to be a quitter in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, Petr Yan did throw the illegal knee, and I'm not blaming Aljamain Sterling for his opponent fouling him in the cage. But my anger with it is, he 100% milked the shit out of that knee because he knew he was going to get a world championship belt for it. Okay? That's my problems with it. I don't care. I'm not blaming Aljamain Sterling. Oh, what a bitch. Get back up and fight anyway. But I blame his actions after the knee landed. The knee landing, that's on Petr Yan. I have no problems with Aljamain Sterling being kneed in the face, even though he was hooking the gloves of Petr Yan whilst down on his knees in front of him, so Yan couldn't even really punch him, leaving no option but for Yan to use a knee on him as he tried to get back up. Either way, the timing was off. Yan kneed him square in the face. I'm not blaming Aljo for that. Aljamain Sterling's actions afterwards of fucking pulling off some real porn acting level skill in that cage to try and get his world championship belt handed around his waist or placed around his waist was really, really horrible stuff to watch. And you never like to see that, even if he does prove that he's the real world champion by beating Petr Yan. I also am going to say this as well. Petr Yan should be the favourite. I believe Petr Yan should be just under a 2-1 favourite against Aljamain Sterling. Petr Yan, and this opened up September 28th, a couple of months ago, I guess, as a minus 325 favourite. Over 3-1. Okay? I'm worried about this, okay? He should not be that big of a favourite. This was a very competitive fight the first time around until Petr Yan started to figure out Aljamain Sterling. Now, I do understand. Petr Yan has that sort of situation with many of his opponents, including his last fight against Corey Sandhagen. He was losing the first round very convincingly. The second round was very close, but then he started to pick it up and take over as Corey Sandhagen sort of slowed down as the fight went on, and Petr Yan started to make his reads and be a little bit more offensive and get the job done. I understand that you can say, well, Petr Yan, and I've said this many times before as well, Petr Yan is a very defensive fighter in the early rounds. He's going to take your shots, download information, and then start to beat the shit out of you. But the fight ended in the 4th round, where Petr Yan was starting to really get the better of Aljamain Sterling. I understand. He got the better of Aljamain Sterling in the 3rd round as well, and won that round too. He only won that round by 1 significant strike. Now, I do understand that those significant strikes were way more significant than Aljamain Sterling's, so it was more of a dominant round for Petr Yan. But the 1st and 2nd round are Aljamain Sterling's, and this is the next part that I want to bring up as well. Anything can happen in this sport, okay? And Aljo got down Yan in the 1st round. If Yan doesn't get up the correct way, and for some reason doesn't do everything correctly that time because he's been slammed on the canvas and he's a little bit disorientated, Aljo can take his back and choke him out in round 1. That can happen. Aljamain Sterling landed 2 flush, clean, flying knees to the face of Petr Yan in that first fight as well in the first 2 rounds. Petr Yan does not decide if these knees KO him or not. They are landing flush to his face, sending him backwards, and he is taking those knees because he has an amazing chin. But they're flying knees. Like, they can KO you. We've seen it many times before in the bantamweight division, even with Petr Yan's last opponent in Corey Sandhagen. They can just KO Yan in the 1st round, and I will mention this again. What if Aljamain is correct? And this is something you have to take into consideration every time there is a rematch. What if this guy's got a fucking point? I mean, really. The stuff that he's been coming out with, all of the excuses, I didn't have a good breakfast, my neck was completely destroyed, and now my neck is completely fine. I didn't have a good training camp, the weight cut was off, all of the excuses that he has made. What if he's actually telling the truth, and that was the worst training camp he's ever had, and he did fight whilst injured? And what if, like, Yan comes in with an injury into the rematch, Aljamain is completely injury-free, better than ever, does he somehow win the 3rd, and then cruise the 4th and 5th? If he has a little bit better cardio, from a better breakfast? I know it's the stupidest fucking excuse ever, but even still, it's an excuse. And he could change it up next time. What if his neck is better this time around? Which I'm assuming it is, because he took even longer to recover from it, so he's knowing, I'm only going out there if my neck is 100% healthy. What if his neck feels way better, and he's got way better cardio because he's had much better training in the training camp, and he's pushed himself to the brink way more than he could do when he had that bad neck in those training moments where you got to push yourself to the limit. Maybe he couldn't push himself to the limit last time with a bad neck because it was hurting him too much. Maybe now that neck is better, he's been pushing himself to the limit every single day, and he's going to have better cardio. Could he potentially out-volume Petr Yan like he did for the first 2 rounds of their first fight, and maybe do that for a 3rd round as well, and then survive the last 2, because he has better conditioning? You know? Then all of a sudden, Aljo's the world champ. I just want to mention this because there's a lot of disregarding that Aljamain Sterling destroyed Corey Sandhagen in round 1, tuned up Pedro Munoz for 3 rounds, and has beaten various other great opponents in the bantamweight division as well, despite having some losses in his career. But I feel like people are disregarding him, and it's worrying me, because if Yan does that, and Aljo even said this in a little back and forth that they had not too long ago. Petr Yan said, "Friendly reminder that Aljo is my bitch. This time I will destroy this little whiner even more impressive." Aljamain Sterling, gonna be night and day. I hope that he sleeps on me, and I truly believe that that was my best version. Gonna be a huge payout for me. Alright, I hope that Yan sleeps on me and truly believes that was my best version. Gonna be a huge payout for me. What if he's correct? What if he genuinely was the worst he's ever fucking been, going into that cage, and now he's gonna feel like a fucking god? It's interesting. I believe Petr Yan's gonna win the rematch, by the way, and that's where I'll end this video. On the counterpoint of everything I've just been saying. I do believe Petr Yan's gonna win the rematch. I am not saying that it's definitely going to happen, which some people are saying right now. I feel like after Aljo and Yan are talking a little bit more, people are going to start bringing up, well, you never know, guys, Aljo really does have a chance, but I want to get in there first. What if he does win, but I don't believe he will? Petr Yan gets this one done. I think he gets it done by late rounds TKO. I just don't like Aljamain Sterling's mindset going in, and I trust Petr Yan's Siberian brain to not allow him to be stupid enough to just overlook an opponent for no reason. The guy's been doing this forever. I'm sure he knows that everyone is dangerous at any moment in time. But I think Petr Yan gets this one done. Even in the first round, I thought that Yan won that first round against Aljamain Sterling. I thought he lost the second round against Aljamain. I thought he lost the second round very clearly against Aljamain Sterling as well. I thought he won the first round because he landed a slam. He landed his own good shots in that round as well, and he dropped Aljamain Sterling in that round. I have no idea how judges gave Aljo that first round. He didn't even double Petr Yan on strikes, and he got dropped. So in my opinion, he didn't do enough to win back the round after being dropped badly beforehand. I'm running out of breath here. But Petr Yan, I think, will win the rematch. He's been more active. He's got the mental advantage over Aljamain, other than if he does overlook Aljamain Sterling, because coming into this, Aljamain Sterling had the impression that he was going to ragdoll the smaller Petr Yan and completely out-grapple him. But what if he... What's he going to think now? Because he kind of realises that he can't really out-grapple Petr Yan. You know? He must understand that now. Unless he was really that badly injured the first time, which I don't really truly believe, and maybe I should have said this earlier on in the video, I don't truly believe that Aljamain Sterling was that badly injured in the first fight, and if he was, it must not have been bugging him too much, because you don't look the way Aljamain Sterling did in those first 2 rounds if your neck is so bad that you can't even move around too well. Like, the way Aljamain Sterling was describing his injury was, I was barely getting through practice, you know, and it just was really holding me back. I couldn't go for runs and all of this kind of stuff. But you're out there throwing double flying knees against Petr Yan in the first round of a championship level bout. I don't believe Aljamain Sterling was that badly injured, but maybe the difference between a slightly injured Sterling and a fully healthy Sterling is just enough to topple the tables. But I do believe that Petr Yan's going to win this one. He's been way more active. I think that's going to be a massive advantage. I think that's why he even took that fight with Corey Sandhagen. He didn't even need to in the first place, but he thought to himself, you know what? I want to stay active. I want to get paid. I want to be more active than Aljamain Sterling. He barely took too much damage against Corey Sandhagen, but again, he did take a lot of shots there. Didn't really get sliced open or concussed or dropped or anything like that, or take any swelling or any broken nose or broken hands or broken face, anything like that. But at the same time, he took another 169 significant strikes, so they're going to do something to someone's body. And eventually, and I'm thinking this about Holloway as well, I think Holloway might get flatline KO'd by Volkanovski, because you can't just keep taking him. And Aljo, of course, hasn't got the best chin either, so he's not the best one to bring this up against. But at the same time, eventually those flying knees start KOing you a bit, and dropping you maybe, and winning someone around 10-8 rather than 10-9. And that's massive on the scorecards, because we've only got 5 rounds. But I do believe Petr Yan wins. I think he wins it very impressively, but I think it's going to be a very competitive bout for those first 3 rounds. After those 3 rounds, I definitely see Petr Yan getting this one done. But Aljo's got a 4-inch reach advantage. He's bigger than Petr Yan. I reckon he's got about 5 pounds of weight on Petr Yan as well. But I just don't know where his confidence is going to be. You've gone out there, you found out I can't fucking take this guy down for shit, and that was your main way of winning the first time. So he's probably going to be a little bit mentally defeated. There's also a lot of pressure on Aljamain, because if he loses, he is going to get fucking ridiculed online forever and completely sort of vanished from the history books as never a world champion anyway. Worst world champion in UFC history. Haha, you got completely fucking destroyed like we wanted you to, like justice was served. There's a lot on the back of Aljamain Sterling, and I could see him getting put away in the 4th round or something like that. But he's still fucking Aljamain Sterling. So he's very dangerous. But again, he hasn't really fought since when? Aljo hasn't fought since March of last year. Or March of this year, which will be last year by the time they face off again. So we could be looking at, maybe, best case scenario, 11 months off for Aljamain Sterling since their first fight. And he's been fighting through injury as well, and pulling out of fights with injuries. So he hasn't been training well that entire time. Plus he's older. Petr Yan's younger. Usually when the younger guy beats the older guy the first time, they have a rematch. The younger guy shows more improvement and wins it again. But it's MMA! And it's fucking random. So everyone fucking hold their horses, being so sure that Yan's going to destroy him. I believe Yan will beat him. But I reckon he should be like a minus 180. Just under minus 200 maybe. Minus 200 at a push, 2-1 as a favourite. Like, I know he's Russian, but fucking hell. Minus 325? One fucking wrong move. He's on your back, body lock in. It don't matter how fucking Siberian you are. Worrying stuff. I hope that Yan beats him, but he might not. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Top submissions of the year coming out later today. Stay tuned for it. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.